Hey guys, Jimmy Martin coming from the events team. We're going to talk about two things today. One, I want to show you this beautiful new setup that we have. And two, we're going to talk about where to position the items inside of your booth space to maximize the effect. I want to talk about a couple of the tools and pieces that you'll need for setup and process of the show. So, starting left to right, you have your keyboard and mouse setup. Very important that you have the USB that plugs into your laptop. That lives inside of here. You'll see a little marker. This is a T-tool. I believe the size is 5/32. You will also have a setup booklet, so instruction manual on how to set everything up. You also have a utility kit here. A lot of key pieces will come in here. Wireless hotspot. Inside your utility kit, most important, number 2, steamer. This is for your graphics. You can see I've got some space marked off here. This is a 10 by 10 space, which is what we do most often. I want to go ahead and start talking about the backdrop. This should be the first piece that you start with. It'll be the center point for all the other pieces as they flank around the sides, which you'll see when we do our setup. So we're going to start here. I have this bag, and if I open it up, you can see that most of the pieces are already put together for us, which is really nice. So this guy right here is going to work like an accordion, and it's going to expand all the way out to our piece, to what the backdrop is going to look like. All right, so we've got our piece laid out. This is what our back wall is going to look like. And if you want to come around the side here, I'll show you how to do all these pieces individually. This is what the piece looks like underneath. You can see very accordion style, as I mentioned earlier. Now, the most important thing for us at this point here is we want to get these little hooks put together. This is what's going to hold the structure in place. Quick tip, start from the top, work your way down. All right, so we're all plugged in right now. We can see that the sides of the graphics here are a little loose, and there's Velcro on the sides, so I'm gonna wanna go around, just make sure that's nice and tight, cleaned up. If you can't reach, bring it back down a little bit to where you can. Super simple. All right, our backdrop is set up. The only last thing that we need to put on this is the lights that go on top. So there's a little bit of a trick with these guys. Now, the best thing to do is you want to bring this back down a little bit so you can reach up at the top. But you'll see on the bottom here, you've got little grooves. These little grooves are going to slide into these poles that I have up here, and the weight of itself is going to hold them in place. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop these in, and you can kind of see how the poles are locked into these channels, and it's supporting its own weight. So we got that set up pretty quickly. Now power cords for the overhead lights are going to get plugged in here. Now when we order electricity for you guys for a booth, you're going to have a power source. Obviously it's not going to be a wall mount like this, but you will have a master power strip. These guys are going to run into there, but most importantly is we're going to have an extension cord that runs from there out to the side, and I'll show you guys that in 1 second. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up. I'm going to move this to the back, and I'm going to plug that in. So we have a nice back wall here. We've got nice lighting going over the top, and I hope you can see there's a little yellow extension cord running out. I've got that prepped up for later. That's going to save me a little bit of extra time. Key piece there. Next, I want to talk about the counter. Now we have a nice display counter that's going to sit out in front, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. Okay, so as you can see, I've pulled out all my pieces. We have a cloth right here. That's going to be our graphic that goes around the front. We've got the frame to the counter is going to be right here. These are all the sides. This will help support the frame. We've got our countertop. That's the nice finished piece on top. And we have a shelf that's going to go inside the middle. Now, we'll start with the frame, and we're going to extend this piece out. As you can see, it unfolds very similarly to the backdrop, very accordion style. Worth noting that if you feel any tension when you're putting any of these things together, they usually mean something's caught or snagged. So don't force it. Always take a second to look and see if you've got something in the way. And I think you can see here we've got some of this cord wrapped up. This is what's causing our issues. There we go. That's nice. So, first piece I want you guys to see here, hopefully you can see from this angle, is you have these little clasps that are going to come down here. You can see that they'll connect with their counterpoint on the other side. We've got one, and we've got two. All right, so we have this frame put together. This is the full structure. And these pieces are going to be our supporting pieces. All right, guys, so we're going to start installing the frame here. So you see that there are two different sizes, and you'll see that there are notches, and these notches are going to hook inside of these little notches to correspond in the frame. Now, one key thing here is that you'll see this groove on top. You always want to make sure that for the top pieces, it's facing up. The graphic has a little zipper tie that's going to run right in through here, and we'll talk through that in a second. Start going into the bigger pieces. So obviously everywhere there is not small ones, there will be big ones. Alright guys, we got the frame built here. So I want to start with the graphics. Then I'm going to put in the shelf on the inside, and then I'm going to do the top to finish it off. So, key thing for this, I've got the graphic pulled out. You can see there's an obvious front and some obvious side panels with messaging. So, you can see that there is a hard plastic top here. And this, if we fold it up like this so that this goes to the back, it's going to slide right into these channels that we have. So you can see right here, what we've left is a nice little area for us to slide this in. You can see how it just slides in there. We're just going to walk it all the way down. All right, so we've got the fabric on. One quick tip for you is you want it to be nice and taut, but if it's too tight to where you're having to pull on it, you may want to loosen up one of the other sides, move it over a little bit so you can buy yourself a little bit of slack. You don't want to pull through and rip it. Very simple shelf here. We've got a little U shape here and then another one on this side. And if you remember these support braces that we used right in the beginning, they're just going to sit right on top of them. There we go, locked right in place. We've got a nice sturdy shelf. And our top has little cutouts, all four. You can see little notches on the top of our frame. It's going to sit right inside of it. So, purpose of your counter. Purpose of the counter is to create a welcoming area, but it's important that you don't want it to block any of the walking passes to get into the booth. Okay, so you see that I've moved the table over to the side here. Again, as I mentioned, creating an open space, warm and inviting for people to come in. Next piece we're going to set up is the easiest piece we're going to do today, and it is our collateral stand. So that's what this little guy is right here. You can see we are very accordion themed here. Very simple. You see a little handle on one side, pull up, put your foot down on the base, and push, and it will lock itself into place. You now have a collateral stand. This guy goes into the back right corner. Very important. All right, last piece. This is the most difficult piece, so I always recommend doing it last. Also, some of these pieces can weigh a couple of pounds. They're a little bit awkward. For instance, the base is probably a good 15 or 20 pounds. It's just difficult to manage. So doing it last and setting it up in the place where it's going to be is going to be critical for you. Now you see I have it in the back left corner so far, which is exactly where it's going to stay and stay for the conference. So if you want to come in with me here, I want to show you a couple cool pieces. This is a little tool that you'll need to put it together. It will always come with the kit. And you'll see here in small markings that these pieces are numbered. So you are going to build a tower, and you'll see a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and so on. And that's the order that you're going to want to put these pieces together in. Now, we'll start with number 1 and number 2. You can see that there are little holes in the bottom and a little post that sticks up. Obviously, the post goes in the hole. We're going to bring our tool out right out of the gate. You can see on the back of this, on the bottom, that there's a couple little screw holes. One of them is sticking out further than the other. We're going to tighten that up, and that's going to lock it into place. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, guys, so we got number 1 and number 2 in. We're going to add in number 3. A couple of things I want to point out. We've got this brace on the back here. We've got this little post on the side. This brace is what's going to hold the laptop case, and then this is going to be the arm that's going to hold the keyboard off to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Again, post and hole. Slide that in there. And we've got some finger screws to help this process go a little bit easier. The top of number 2 is going to be where this guy lives. We'll just screw them in nice and tight. Okay. Then we've got number 4. Same theory. Post goes in the hole. Top of the number 3. Give that a good tighten. Okay. Now, here's our arm that the keyboard holder is going to go on. So, you can see one of these sides is closed off. The open side is going to be what goes into this post. Going to get our tool back out, and you can see closest piece inside of there on the top. Just going to screw that in. We have the table for our keyboard and mouse. You can see there's a bracket inside of here. You've got a screw on each side. Guess where these guys are going to go? You're going to want to line this up. Slide those in. Screw it in just a little bit by hand for the first one. There we go. And we're just gonna tighten it down. Second to last piece for us is the mounting bracket for the TV. So you'll see in the back here, you have 2 little notches. And these guys are gonna slide right inside this channel here on the front side. So I'm gonna stay in the back because it seems to be a little bit easier. If you can't get your your pieces to slide into the channel. Loosen it up from the front a little bit and it should slide right in. There we go. Now once we get it to the height that we want, which should be pretty flush with the top, you want the monitor bracket here to be flush with the top of this post that we've built. You're going to go ahead and tighten these guys down. All right, that's on there nice and tight. Give it the earthquake test because you're about to put some weight on it. Feels good. All right, let's get the monitor on. Now you'll see the monitor is going to come equipped like this every single time. This is the mounting bracket. You see that there's hooks here, and these hooks are going to go right on top of this mounting bracket. So they're going to come around the back here, and then the bottom is going to rest flush up against here. The monitor is very light. It weighs like 15 or 20 pounds. The only thing is the height that you have to put it up. So if you have to ask somebody for help, do it. Let's make sure it's centered nice, and we're good to go. Try and clean up the cords as best as you can. You don't want them hanging so that they're just all over the place and people can see them. All right, last piece is the laptop carrier. So you'll see these little knobs out the back. They're going to correspond with this bracket that we have back here in number 3. This little guy is going to slide right into those holes and drop right into place. Now, from here, this is where our power comes into play. So, we've got our keys. We're going to be able to open this. You can have your laptop in here and everything running from this command center. We'll start with our extension cord that we left. So we can run this up through here into this port here. So we now have this. We're going to have a power strip here, which will go in. Use this for your charger for your laptop and for the monitor from the TV. I would run this in through this hole as well. I want to try and tuck this out of the way as best as we can. This can stay in here. Last piece, your HDMI cord. Into your laptop, follow your process, into the TV. We've got a TV set up. All right guys, so we've got our booth completely set up. You can see that the monitor is moved to the back, real nice and tight on the side. A couple things, you want to make sure you're staying within your line. You don't want to be invading your neighbor's space. Another thing is we want to make sure that our graphics are still visible from the front. So you don't want this in too far to where you're blocking off any of our images. Now you'll see our table, again, in the front, off to the side. Our collateral stand in the back right, our big backdrop, monitor, and this is our setup. For teardown, play this video in reverse. See you at the next setup.